Hello everyone, welcome to my Rebrickable BrickBoss Humvee review. This is a custom model done by BrickBoss over on Rebrickable, and I'll link his design down below if you want to go check it out. And this is just a review of what I think about his model. So we're going to go over what I liked, what I didn't like, overall score at the end, and then just should you buy it. The total part count for this build is 287 parts, and right now it looks like you can get all the parts for around $60 after shipping if you order them all off BrickLink. One thing to note before we jump into this review, I didn't actually have all the pieces for this, so I'll show you the pieces that are not originally from his design. So these two 1x3 tiles here, these two 1x3 plates are not from his design. His design actually has two different pieces here, and then these pieces back here on the left and right side, this is actually supposed to be a 2x4 slope piece right here. And these mirror pieces right here, these are supposed to be tan pieces, and this is not actually the right piece. It's similar, but not the right one. And then finally, I changed where the antenna sits because in the instructions, for some reason, this antenna where it was doesn't work. You can't actually finish this side of the build with where the antenna was and what pieces it used, so I had to move that and kind of rig that my own way. And then finally, one last thing that wasn't part of his design is the turret, the gun up here on the turret. This gun was something I added on just for the looks at the end. All right, so now let's go over what I liked about this model. Overall, I mean, the look of this Humvee is insane. It's really well done. I mean, the tiled off look looks really good. The angles of this, especially around the tires, are really nice. And then you have the hatch in the back that goes up and down. The turret on top looks really good. The glass on the doors looks really good. And especially the front. I really like the way the front looks with the two windshield pieces here. And then the turret itself I really like as well. I really like the armored look around the edges. The two clear pieces on the front make it look really nice. Like I said, I added the gun to the turret, but even without the gun up there, this is a really nice looking turret that actually does fit a minifigure up top. And the turret itself does rotate 360 degrees. There's that. Works pretty well. And then if we take a look at the bottom of the model, you can see it's completely tiled off, which is really nice. Kind of gives that almost like an armor look on the bottom, which Humvees do have. At least the newer versions did have armor on the bottom to help with the IEDs, so that's a really nice touch. It's pretty much no studs on the bottom. And if you can't tell, this uses this knot technique, studs not on top, to get that look on the bottom. One last thing I want to mention that I really liked is how pretty much everything that's supposed to open opens on here. Maybe not the front part. It doesn't open like a real Humvee does, but this hatch opens up completely. You have the back and the front. And then all four doors open as well. So it's a little hard to do, which I'll show you. But this back door opens up all the way, like that. And it can close, and it closes in pretty seamlessly with the rest of the design. Now, this door does open, but it's pretty much, it stops there because of the mirror. That side mirror piece just keeps it from moving, which is kind of a bummer, but this door does open. And it goes back in like that. Alright, so that's pretty much an overlook of what I did like, and now let's go over to stuff that I didn't like about this. So for me, this build experience was very frustrating. This model is super fragile compared to, like I said, so if you've never built a custom set before, this is probably going to be kind of a pain in the ass for you. It does fall apart a lot when you're building it. You just got to figure out which parts fall apart and how not to really press on those spots. One more thing about the build experience, there actually was one thing in the instructions, like I said earlier, the antenna piece. This whole section had to be rearranged here a little bit because this 2x3 tile right here doesn't actually fit like it does in the instructions. So I had to move the antenna piece, and this little hook right here had to be moved. And that piece actually had to be changed. But this is one area that didn't work in the instructions like it should have. And like I said, this set is very fragile. This is not something you want to play with. This is something that pretty much is display only. There have been a bunch of times, this is actually loose right now from opening it. This pops right off when you're moving it. It does kind of go back on, but you have to be pretty careful about that. You can see here, this piece is separating as well. This is broken off one or two times when going up and down. This turret and roof piece are not held on very well, so these are very easy to come off and kind of wiggle around. As you can see here, that turret just is constantly moving. Which isn't that big of a deal. Like I said, if you're not playing with it, it should be fine. It's just going to be a display piece anyway. So if you press down on this gun right here, this whole front piece of the turret will actually just come off. And then you can't just put it back on because the pieces are underneath and you have to push up on them to connect them. So you have to take this whole turret off, take the roof off, and then put that piece back on, then put the roof back on, and then put the turret back on. It's just a huge pain in the ass to do that. So that's one area that was really annoying while building and just moving this set around. And then there's another point right here. I can actually just show you because it comes right off. This part right here is only, this whole piece right here is only held on by these two studs. right here. And there is a little bit of weight distribution help right here. This sits on this tile right there, but this tile is also only held on by one stud right there. So this isn't exactly the strongest model when it comes to these side pieces in that turret, but it does a pretty good job. And as you can see, it's falling apart. So I'm going to put this back together. This door piece right here, this whole assembly is only held on by one stud on the bottom and then one stud on top that connects to the roof. So this is also pretty fragile right here, but despite that being fragile, this front piece is actually even more fragile than that one. And this front piece is pretty annoying to get out. I mean, it's almost impossible sometimes. You can see you can see it's just fell apart just like that. So you can see in there's one stud. The minifigure sits on the gray stud, and then that one tan stud right there is what this whole door assembly sits on. But again, if you're just using this for display, that doesn't really matter. Once you get it in the first time, you have to be careful while moving it. So you can get it back in there, but it does kind of shift a lot and doesn't really sit completely even. So another thing I noticed is that these front tires don't really move. As you can see, the back tires move fine. Those are really nice and smooth. But these front tires are just rubbing against something. I don't know if this is just because I didn't build this part right, or if there's something that can be moved here. But these tires definitely don't roll super easily because they're rubbing on something over here. And as you can see here, it's actually rubbing against this piece right now. This whole... there goes the door again. This whole piece is supposed to be... I mean, I can't really get that back in without taking off the whole top. So I might just leave that for now because I have to take that off anyway to show you guys how the turret works. And then this whole bottom piece, I mean, it's just... as you can see, it just crumbles so easily. So if you press down on this gun, you can see this piece. So this whole piece falls off a lot. This is the piece I was talking about earlier on the turret. This falls off a lot. And then when that breaks off, you can't, like I said, you can't just put it back on because it goes underneath. So you take this whole turret piece off, and then as you can see, it's I'll just take this whole part off. The whole model is just falling apart at the moment. The turret sits on those two Technic pieces right there, and that's what allows it to spin around inside, and that's what gives you enough room for the other 4 minifigs inside. So now I can show you where the fragile spots are. Obviously the doors are super fragile because they're only sitting on one stud. But then even here, this connects like that. And it doesn't always work. Like as soon as you press down anywhere up top on this middle part, this piece will just come right off and just fall down. So that's was a huge pain to deal with. And then one other issue I noticed, you can barely fit a minifig in these spots. They do have studs, which is nice to fit them. But they do barely fit. I think you have to put both arms up. Yeah, you pretty much have to put both arms up on the figs for this thing to actually work. This guy might be able to put his arm down there, but you can see it's rubbing on the turret, so they don't exactly fit in there very well. If you put his hand all the way down, you might be able to spin the turret around, but it's not ideal. But at least it gives you an interior, so it's kind of nice. There's nothing like, there's no steering wheel or anything in the front, but I don't think it's that big of a deal because you're not really in there that much anyway, especially like I said, because you're only supposed to be using this for display. And then just to show you guys, this piece goes under right here and just sits on that one stud like that. So anytime you're moving this door, that piece is very likely to come out. And then this piece right here, the second door in the back, also is held on by one stud right there. That's what the Humvee looks like without the roof on it. And it pretty much just sits on this stud right here, this stud here, and then it sits above this angled plate right here. So just show you guys real quick why this turret is such a pain in the ass. I take off this whole bottom piece. I take out the whole middle section of the turret except for the part on the bottom that spins it. And then put the roof on like so. Try not to break anything. Don't push too hard because you'll probably break something. And then I put the turret back in like this and then just line it up on the bottom with the piece that it connects to, but don't push on the front of the turret or else the turret will break probably. You just give it a little tug, and there you go, it's back on. All right, so overall score, I'm gonna say 7 out of 10. I'm gonna go with 7 out of 10. Really nice look overall. I mean, it's the probably most Humvee looking Humvee made out of Lego out there. that's minifig scale, I think he did a really good job of being able to fit minifigs in there and giving it a design that actually looks like the Humvee. But I do have to take points off for how fragile it is. But again, if you're using for display only, if you're not moving it around that much, you're not going to have too many problems. And it is generally easy to put back together. So if you're buying all these parts off Bricklink, you don't have any parts at all, $60 for this, I mean, it's pretty good, honestly. If you're somebody that can deal with something falling apart constantly when you're moving it, or something that is going to fall apart constantly when you're trying to put on your mocks and put it in different positions, or showing different parts of the Jeep open and stuff like that, if you can get used to that and handle that, then this is definitely worth $60. If you're somebody that's really used to Lego sets and just like something being sturdy and completely not going to break on you if you move it, much like the Star Wars sets in the background, this might not be for you. But display-wise, I mean, this Jeep is perfect. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review of the BrickBoss Humvee. If you want to check out the speed build video, that is also up as well. I'll link that down below. And if you want to get this Jeep for yourself and build it, check out BrickBoss on Rebrickable. Get the instructions and order yourself the parts, and it can be yours. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to be doing more reviews on models that I get off BrickLink, so leave some feedback down below, what you liked, what you didn't like of the review. And then let me know if you have this model as well. I'd love to know what other people think of this. And if people had the same experience I did, where it just completely kept falling apart on me while I was building it. So let me know down below. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.